Amazing. Great.
But
João, as CMO of Prime Video in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Latin,
yes,
of course you have seen all this content already, right?
almost.
Okay, so hi everyone, good afternoon. For most people here in Web Summit, today is day 3. But for you and your Amazon colleagues, it's always day 1.
You couldn't start better.
Tell us why.
The day one concept is probably the most well-known approach and philosophy of the company. And that goes across all areas, from tech and product to retail to obviously to the marketing teams, right? We're talking here more about the efficiency and performance of marketing teams. Day 1 is an approach that allows you to never settle. Day 1 is a way of working that even in a company that nowadays has a revenue of $640 billion and has 1.2, 1.3 million employees, sounds hard to believe it happens. I joined at Amazon like 5.5 years ago. And when I started seeing this day 1 concept and all the leadership principles, to be totally honest, as Latin as I am, I thought, it's all bullshit, right? It's all like, it's just conversation. What the hell is that? It is truly embedded in the way we do work. And basically, I was trying to find, okay, how do you summarize that in an easy way? It's all about never settle. Always question why. Always try to decompose, always challenge any given solution. Because any solution, any strategy might be perfect today, like tomorrow might not be anymore. So we often in our companies, we design strategies, we look to the market. The market is moving faster than ever, but everyone says that since 50 years ago anyway. But we often then just try, for the sake of being right, we try to build stuff based on what we decided before, and we try to adjust and move forward in the same direction. And you need to challenge the whole time. People cannot be accommodated, cannot be comfortable, right? So the idea of day 1 is a mix then of concepts like ownership, like delivery results, like earn trust. I mean, you can read all of that online. You can see a lot of presentations. I'm not going to give you any lecture on that subject. But it all builds an approach of a best way to work. Now, you cannot have that randomly, right? Because if you want a marketing team to be productive, you cannot just expect that everyone takes those principles and then do whatever they want. Otherwise, would be, I would call it anarchy, right? So you then need some direction, right? And I actually selected this video because when I saw the title of the presentation, and I'm far older than most of the people that I see sitting here, so I have many, many years of career, probably more than the age of a lot of you sitting here. And I went through a lot of teams, and when I started marketing back then, it was very common that people would go, if you don't like numbers, you go to marketing. If you like numbers, you go to finance, right? And I never understood that. And today, more than ever, marketing is about everything except what you saw in the video. This is what you do in probably 2% of the time. The other 98 is all about numbers, is all about data, is all about analyzing information, is all about studying the market. I see it, and above all, and this is something that Amazon is very proud,
understanding the consumer.
Perfect,
right?
you got the good lesson. Yeah. Always understanding the consumer, right? That is key. That is key. So we always focus on the consumer and never settle, always challenge, and you need to base your work on data. All about numbers. Now, I would say today we have the opposite problem, which is for the marketeers of today, there's too much data available, or at least too much disorganized data available. And it's if you're smart enough, you play with data the way you want. So if you play with data, you can actually convince your boss, your manager, almost of everything. You can go in this direction, you can go in that direction. So we all need to have best intentions and know what we want and what we're doing. And I would say for that, on top of all those principles, on top of the attitudes, you need a direction, you need a North Star. So if you want to have a high-performing marketing team, you need to be sure that people know what's the key goal of the business. You need to understand what's the long-term goal. And then marketing is a piece of the whole puzzle, right, of a company. In some companies, marketing is bigger, some other companies, marketing is smaller. Depends very much on the business. But it's always part of a major purpose, a major goal.
Sure.
Look, Amazon is a company that I've been, as I said, for five and a half years. It's a company that formalizes really well this kind of philosophy of, those values, and they put it on the 16 leadership principles, the day one concept, all of that. I was lucky enough through my life to build teams in very different situations, let's put it that way. I worked for family-owned companies. I worked for US companies owned by US studios, for instance. I worked for European companies. I worked for Swiss companies. Sorry for the joke, but it's not exactly European companies. Swiss are a world on its own, right? And I also work for Portuguese companies. I'm Portuguese, right? I'm Portuguese and Brazilian, by the way. And I was lucky enough to build many, many teams, and I do believe that I made them efficient and high performance delivers with many of those concepts that maybe were not so organized and clarified like Amazon has them, but many companies, I'm pretty sure most of you work in companies that have some of those. I think the risk is when people start to accommodating, I would say. But anyway, sorry, very long answer to you.
No problem
on the day one question.
This is the best kind of source that we journalists pray for, because we make one question and they go on like for minutes.
Sorry, we have 10. We have 10.
No problem at all. I love it. Of course, that day one is an allegory for, like you said, for enthusiasm. It's not about rushing anything. It's about enthusiasm, excitement. And I know that Amazon, in general terms, has a lot of good lessons in that way. Like we were talking a little earlier about common sense, how common sense and these tiny directions of how operate a big business like this works if you have a good leadership. So we're talking about two-way door.
One-way door, two-way door.
One-way door, yeah. Talk a little bit about this, for example.
I can tell you a little bit about that. So, in a way, Amazon wants people to challenge whatever is the common sense, whatever is the current solution. How can we serve the customer better? And it's a company at the same time that promotes experiments and risk. Now, we need to understand if a risk is going to kill the company or a risk is going to give us good learnings if we miss it, right? If we end up having a wrong decision. So we are very, very clear in all the decisions we make. If it's a one-way door, meaning if we go that direction, it's very, very complicated to come back, or a two-way door. And those two-way door decisions, it's a decision that you can take today, goes wrong, you test, you experiment, you get the data, you learn about it, and you assume it's wrong, let's go in another direction. And by the way, we do promote a lot two-way door decision for every level of the company. And that can only work, and I believe that happened in Amazon, happened in several companies I worked in, but doesn't work everywhere. You need to be sure you create the right context for the employee to fail. Because in many, many companies, people are not supported to test and fail, right? And many companies say they do, but it's not true. And it's not by chance that in a lot of companies, the people that don't take decisions are the ones that grow in their careers. I saw a lot of those. I know a lot of those. Because companies often do not reward risk. Now, you need to be sure that if you are rewarding crazy risk, and again, a one-way door, or if you are actually rewarding and giving example to others about decisions that are two-way door, people fail it, they learn it, as long as we all agree with the reason why, with the mental model that took to the test, that took to the experiment, that took to the decision, if the result is negative, it doesn't really matter. It matters the learning you get from it. And means that the quicker you fail, the quicker you test again, and you go in a different direction, right? And I have to say that in Amazon, that is pretty real. So people we do promote for any level Obviously, each person has a certain scope of ownership, which is another leadership principle, very, very strong. The owner mentality, right? We want everyone to feel that they own the company. And that ownership mentality can only work if then you give space to people to perform, to test, to fail, and then it's fine, right? And I prefer someone that fails 10 times than someone that never tried and therefore never learned, right? So you need that, and you need to create the right environment. Also, another issue that comes a lot with day two companies is that very often leadership managers tend to build the teams very much aligned with the way they think, right? And I actually felt, I lived 19 years in Brazil, so I know what I'm talking about, Brazil and you know, many years before in Europe. It's very common that leaders don't like to be challenged. It's very common that they want to be sure they are the ones that know the most in the room. And that means that very often people don't have a voice. And you end up building and adjusting the team to a lot of people similar to you, right? And that is one of the worst mistakes and one of the most, best examples of a day two mentality. The more you have people that, first of all, get a team that knows more than you. I'm very proud that everyone in my team knows more than me. They might not know all of it, but each of them are highly specialists. They know a lot about the subject far more than me. Otherwise, I wouldn't need them, right? My job is to put them together. My job is to be sure they play the same music, that we go along together. I keep giving them the North Star I mentioned before, in a way that they don't waste bandwidth, they don't waste efficiency, they know where we're going, and they don't lose time enjoying doing stuff like this, like you saw before in the video, right? Because in marketing, we often, you know, get distracted with the funny things. Now, then the second thing is you need people not only that know more than you, but they really think differently. And they need to challenge each other, and they need to challenge me. Otherwise, we will not learn. We will not evolve. And the more they challenge, obviously, people need to understand what means a challenge and what means a commitment. We have one of the principles I like the most is the backbone, disagree and commit. Even if you are the single voice in the room with a different opinion, you're not only, it's not that we would like you to speak. You have the obligation to speak. And it's embedded in the way we work. You are obliged to speak. And then you can take the time you want to bring the data, to bring the numbers, to bring the hypotheses, to try to convince everyone else. The moment the group makes a decision, we are all committed to the decision. It doesn't exist, I told you so. Someone that says, I told you so, has no future, right? Because the moment we agreed, all of us, we are together. Maybe some of us believe more, some of us believe less, but we need to bring that enthusiasm that you mentioned, that willingness to do different and new and more all together the same way. So the backbone and then the disagree and the commit are super important, and if they are played well, then people are totally free to challenge, to disagree, to come with different opinions, and then there's a moment, okay, let's organize a room, let's go forward, otherwise we're going to be discussing forever, right? So all this is part of that day one mentality. I truly believe that's the way you put a team of people fully embracing a goal and bringing the energy that they bring in the same direction.
Great,
okay?
Great.
That's
so now I have a challenge for you to wrap up our panel. We're almost done, 3 minutes left. What advice would you give to the audience, considering that we have different levels of professionals here, not only leadership, but also management, our coordinators. What would you say to them to be better marketeers, being an advertiser, on a platform, on an agency? What would you say?
I'm not going to say anything new to anyone. From the over 30-something years of work, I found that probably the number one thing that you need, and without it, nothing else works, is respect for the other people. I mean, no one knows everything. And I'm glad, otherwise life would be really boring. So respect others, and respect the CEO the same way you respect the person that is actually, validating your badge. Everyone is equal. They have different opportunities, they have different, lives, you need to respect that and respect everyone. Respect the difference. Respect people that come with a different opinion. Listen to them. Be humble enough that no one knows about the customer as the customer. So we are all on an eternal effort to try to understand the customer, but we'll never be there 100%. So be humble. No one knows it all perfectly. So I think the respect is the number
key.
one advice I would give. For people that are starting the career, I have to say that nowadays I participate in a lot of loops, and loops is a name that we give to the process to hire someone for Amazon, right? So I hired a lot of people throughout my life. I don't think I don't have a good eye to get at a glance on a short interview if someone is great or not great. But I can give an advice to people that are, in early stage of the career. I found two groups of people working with me. The ones that come with a problem and the ones that come with a solution. So all this conversation about the one, all these leadership principles, it's all very nice. But I have people that, and it doesn't really matter the level, the hierarchy. Might be a director, might be a manager, might be, an intern. Some people just have an attitude that instead of coming with a problem, they come with a solution. They're always ready to solve the problem. The solution might be wrong. The hypothesis might be, you might need to question it, but some people are just focusing on solving things, and some people are just focused on, showing red flags and saying, oh, this is a problem, this can be done, we're not going to...
It's always about balance, right?
So, so if you want to go forward, question yourself and try to be on the side of the ones that bring the solutions, okay? I would say that it's very practical. That goes completely beyond the Amazon thing. Those are the two. The other one is the why. Keep asking why. Ask everyone. Be careful when you ask enough and you're asking the same thing again to get the same answer. Maybe it's time to change and think about something else, because some people don't understand the limit, right? I would say. And above all, keep learning. Like look to your roles and to your jobs, whatever it is, either an intern or a top senior manager. Keep trying to learn. I mean, the way the world moves so fast these days, if you're not open to learn, you're not evolving at all, I think.
Great. Thank you so much, João. Happy day one for you.
Thank you so much. Happy day one for everyone. Thank you. Thank you.